So let's see what we got in this box for the Holley Sniper. We of course have the main sniper unit. And then we have, it's got several wires coming out of it that connect to all the other stuff that I've already started to install. Not sure what that is, but here's what it is. Okay, in the box of all the installation parts, we have a couple of clamps, a gasket, and a plate with a bung in it so that you can drill into your exhaust system. Put this over with the gasket, clamp it on tight, and connect your oxygen sensor that they've provided. I won't be using those clamps because the headers I bought have collectors that both have bungs and a plug for it. So I'll plug one of the bungs and I'll put this sensor in the other. You have a gasket and some various mounting screws. There's an O-ring, an AN plug, looks like a couple of 3/4 inch bolts, I'm sorry, 1/4 inch bolts, 7/16 head, and a couple of studs to put down into the intake manifold. So that will be used today. Next is a temperature sensor that goes into the head. Not exactly sure what this stuff is, but it looks like this is an alcohol pad and some sticky things, and looks like a stylus to use on the screen that you use for setting it up. So those stickies are probably to mount it. And a couple of brackets. This one for sure looks like it's a throttle bracket. They said you may be able to use your original, but I don't know. My original is still attached to my carburetor. And this might be, well, I shouldn't say, because I don't know for sure. I'm thinking maybe transmission kickdown bracket, but if that's what it is, I won't be using it because I am putting in that electronic transmission. So I was going to pick up the Holley unit to decide where to put my studs in for mounting it, but I had a brief moment of sanity and decided that this is way easier to handle and it'll tell me the same thing. So I'm gonna re-aim the camera to the engine. This is going to be the gasket. That's going to tell me where I need to put just cover that hole so nothing can get in it. And you can tell which way it goes on by the size of the intake port there. Hopefully you could see that. I will zoom in a bit and give you another look at that. That's the way it goes, because the opening in the intake in the back here is bigger to match the bigger holes here. So once I put that on there, I can actually put that down. Find me a couple studs. Set this up. And we can screw the studs in. Interesting that they better check to make sure that there's no sealant required on that, because they do go through to the manifold. Well, it looked like those went into the manifold, but they don't. They're just deep holes, and I couldn't see the bottom of it. And it looked like it was into this, but I actually can put my finger around, and they do not. So I'm going to put those four guys in. Was right, that told me exactly which holes in the manifold to use. Take this off and see if I can maybe get a better grip on these to tighten them in. Want them to be in far enough. Being careful to block off the hole. I'm not trying to shield the view. I don't want to drop anything down in there, because I would have to probably tear things apart. So that was not that good of an idea, because when I tried to loosen it out of there, it brought the stud back out. And I didn't even use a wrench on it. All I did was make it finger tight. grip it with a pair of needle nose pliers to undo it. Okay. So I feel pretty comfortable that those are in as far as they need to go, because I couldn't turn them any further. And you don't torque them to a very high spec. It's 60 to 80 inch-pounds. And of course I have my, well, I don't know if I can use a torque wrench on it because I don't know where those studs are going to be, whether I can get a socket on them, and it's kind of necessary to use a torque wrench. But we are ready. And blow any particles out of there. Don't want to have anything going down into that brand new rebuilt engine. So I may be able to get a torque wrench down in there. There's a lot of cables here, but they all have a place to go. Unfortunately, because of that, you have to kind of wrap them up, and in my opinion, that's a less than perfect installation, I guess. So I'm trying to start these nuts onto the studs, and they are not much room to get your fingers in there. I think you can probably see that on the screen or on the video. Okay. I'm going to have to get all 4 of those on. And then, looks like I'm going to have to clean off my tool cart that has the torque wrenches in it. Now, I don't know. I think maybe the, guess you can't see it from there, but I'm going to have to check and see how my bracket was on my original carburetor, because so the nuts on those things are 1/2 inch. And an extension unless I put it away. Here's an extension I can use. It's not the one I had, but I may have to. No, that's not going to go. So there's no way you're getting a torque wrench on that. I don't know why they even give you a spec whenever there's, at least to the best of my knowledge, the only torque wrenches made are for sockets. And if you can't get a socket down in there to get it on the nut, it's not, there's no way for you to get an accurate torque measurement. So I got two of these started. There's the fuel rail runs over here. It makes it very difficult to get. And the nuts in there, my fingers are almost as big as the gap, each finger, so getting it in there is tough. But I've got 3 started so far, and I'll get the 4th one started. And then I guess I'll give you a break while I tighten up these in a crisscross fashion, it said. So according to the directions, there are 2 ports back here. Either one of them can be used as the input. In other words, the fuel line coming in. And then there's 2 ports here. I believe those are the ones that can be used as returns. And I'm not doing a return because I spoke with Holly and they told me that because I'm using their in the tank fuel pump, and that fuel pump is regulated to 58 psi, which is what this needs, I have to run a return line because any pressure in excess of 58 will be dumped off right in the fuel tank. So those 4 nuts are all started. It'll be one of these deals where you can only get a partial turn. There's a full turn. And I don't have any idea what 60 to 80 inch ponds is. So I'm going crosswise, staggering them, and then I guess I'll go back over to the original side. I don't know if that's the best way to do it or not. Part of me thinks that going to the bolt that's furthest apart is the way to go, and part of me is thinking that no, go to the closest one. So I'm going to go to the closest, and I'll do it in that fashion. So I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'll go back and 1, 2, 3, 4 till I'm satisfied that it's tight enough. So while I'm doing that, I'm going to let you guys go. And that'll probably take me in the neighborhood of 5 minutes, I would think. So you can't get a very good swing on any of these, but this is one of those deals where you have to flip the wrench between each little bit of a turn. Well, I guess maybe not. Looks like maybe if you go, looks like maybe I've been doing it the hard way. But since I'm back on this first one, we'll go here first. Can only get a partial turn, so you got to flip the wrench each time. If you've done any work on cars, you know what I'm talking about here. And what I'm talking about here is maybe the easy way. Nope, can't do it. Thought maybe I was going to be able to go from the underneath here and reach that bolt. This side, okay, the thing is offset a little bit towards the front, and I can actually go underneath it here to reach this bolt. I can't in the back because it's offset further up to the front. Okay, that feels like 60 to 80 inch-pounds. Not that I know what that feels like. I guess I've installed a few carburetors and I kind of know tight enough, if you will. So, now that that's on, it's telling me to reconnect all of the vacuum lines. Well, I don't have it in the car, so that's not going to happen. Brake booster line, distributor vacuum advance, I'm not using because I'm using the Hyperspark distributor, which does the timing electronically. It says this, depending on your application, this is also the time to install your throttle bracket and transmission kickdown brackets. Well, like I said, no transmission kickdown bracket, and I'm not exactly sure just yet. It says you may be able to use the stock style throttle stud or transmission studs from your carburetor. So don't see a place on my old manifold to screw that in. There is something here. There's a place to screw something, but doesn't look like this will screw into it. There may be a little bracket that goes in there and attaches to this. Have to dig it out. So now it says install a coolant temperature sensor into a 3/8 inch NPT coolant passage in either the intake manifold or cylinder head. Do not over tighten or damage to the cylinder head or intake may occur. It's best to drain some of the coolant. I have no coolant in there. Before the sensor is installed. Use thread sealer or a small amount of thread tape. Do not install the sensor in the thermostat housing or in an area that will not see a constant flow of coolant. And obviously if the thermostat is closed, no coolant's going to come through there. But here's the temperature sensor. I do have a hole in the side of the block, which I am going to, that looks like a 3/8 to me. This already has sealant on it, so if I can open this little Ziploc bag, all I have to do is thread that guy in there. And I've already decided that, the original thermostat for the gauge in the car was in the passenger side, the driver's side of the engine. So I am going to put that back in the same place it was. I'm going to close up these exhaust ports with tape before I go any further, because I don't want anything to be able to get in there. You know what, this is going to be easier if I do them vertically, one at a time. There we go. Okay. That's good. I do have to get a wrench to tighten that. It's a 3/4 inch hex head on that. don't go crazy. Let's see if I can figure out which of these clips goes in there. I believe it's that one. That made the first electronic connection for the sniper fuel injection. Whoa. I didn't even have it aimed at where I was working. Sorry about that. There it is right back there. And as I said, I used a 3/4 inch. I used the closed end of the wrench, but I'm gonna, for demonstration purposes, just put the open end on it right there. There's the wire that I connected. And you probably didn't see that either because I zoomed in too much. Well, you could see the wire. Maybe not me pointing to it, but you could see the wire. Okay. Starting to look more like an engine. So next it tells you to hook up the vacuum lines. Well, there aren't too many of them for me, but they are way underneath the throttle body for the fuel injector. You can see them in there. There's 3. And actually there's 4. There's a 4th one right here. That's a ported one for distributor advance, or I guess anything else, but I'm not aware of anything else that uses ported vacuum. I sure didn't make those easy to get to. Maybe I should have taken those off. Actually, the one that I think I need off prior to bolting it down. Might have made it a little bit easier. Let's see if we can pull this off with. Isn't that fun? Wish they'd have told me to put these my hands are too big and I really don't have that big of hands. Gonna try. This is a O-ring pick. I'm gonna try to get that behind there. Pry it off with it. How about that? That was pretty easy. Now, question is, I'm gonna be able to get that clamp on that fitting once I get the hose on it. I may have to get a new piece of hose that's more flexible than this for this PCV. But, oh, that went on. I'll have to see what happens when I get the the alternator sits over here. I think this will clear it and go under the radiator hose. And again, I'm pointing things out and probably can't see what I'm pointing at. I may shorten this hose, but for right now, I think it's going to clear both the radiator hose because it'll go under it. The radiator hose goes here. And the alternator belt, I believe, is going to run about here. So I think it'll be good. Try to get under there with a pair of needle nose pliers to squeeze that clip and move it back. That appeared to work. Okay. See what else we can do today. So we're looking at the back of the sniper unit. The plug right here that needs to come out to get vacuum for the brake booster. And they tell you to take that plug out and put this adapter in. And I was like, well, what goes to that? And I decided to go look at my carburetor and find out what kind of an adapter they had on it. And here it is. I will point it out as soon as that's right here. And now I find what they were talking about whenever they were talking about using your old throttle cable adapter, because I think I've found it. And I don't know about these springs. There appear to be springs built into the linkage on the sniper unit. So I don't know that I need these springs over here. And the return springs right here. I don't know that I need those. So first thing I'm going to do is unscrew the throttle cable bracket from the brake booster line. And then I'm going to unhook those springs. And guess what? I've got to take off the nuts that hold down the sniper unit in order to get that on. And I may have to take all of them off. The reason I say that is I'm not sure that I can slip that bracket underneath there and get it hooked up. I'm going to see if I can clean this off a little bit. It's not rusty or anything, but it does appear to be a little bit oiled up. This is just going to be a test fitting to see if I can slip it under and get it on top of those studs without taking them all off. And I don't think that's going to work, period. So somehow I have to figure out how I'm going to put the bracket they gave me on here. And well, the good news is that I don't have to take the throttle body off anyway. But somehow I'm going to have to figure out how do I make this thing work. You know what? Thought for a second maybe I'd be able to do something like this. No, that's offset from the throttle. It's got to set something like this. So, not sure that that's going to work without some figuring out how to mount it. Seems as though it should go that way, but I guess it could go that way. If that's a square hole, all that would mean is that I had to put the throttle cable in from the side rather than from the top. So this might actually work. I think it would. They didn't even give you a picture of how this would connect. I'm thinking, now I do have to take the entire throttle body off because this won't go over the stud. Might not have to take it completely off, but I've got to loosen it all the way. So I'm going to loosen that up off camera. we'll turn the camera back on. I hope I remember to turn it back on whenever I'm starting to, you didn't even see that, dang it. Let's go through that again. Sorry for the inconvenience, but okay. This hole looks square to me, so it doesn't matter whether I put the cable in through here or whether I have it sideways and put it in through there. So that's what I'm going after. And it looks like I can mount this on this back stud. Looks like that's where it's designed to go. But now that I've got the throttle body bolted down, can't get it on there. So I'm going to loosen that, and whenever I'm ready to attempt to put it on, I'll turn the camera back on and go from there. So I've got 3 of the 4 unscrewed to the top. On camera focus. Like that one there. I'll point it out. So 3 are unscrewed that far. And the other one, I took the nut completely off. Because that one I've got to slip the bracket over. Move this down. Okay, right there you can see the nut, which I hadn't pulled out yet because it fell down and I didn't have anything to grab it with. So let me pull the nut out of there. Okay, so the nut's out of there. Now what I'm going to attempt to do is lift the throttle body enough that I can just slip that bracket on like that. And that's above the base of the throttle body, so it won't interfere with the seal of the base of the throttle body, which should be fine. Just screw it back down. The other 3 I never took the nut completely off, so those should be easy to get going. Just spin them down. Wish they'd have had a picture of how this goes on, because it sure wasn't obvious from the description they had, and all they said was maybe you can use your old one, and would not, but the new one appears to line up nicely. Actually, it looks a little better. Okay, so I'm going to go back at it with tightening them down in a crisscross fashion. That's really tight to get the wrench in there now with that bracket adding some interference. Okay, back to this side. All right, we're back to where we started. Now I need to find a Allen wrench to fit that plug in there. First guess. I think that's the 1/4 inch one I had recently for something else. And I think the way that I broke it loose was to put the 1/4 inch wrench on that and use that for leverage. It's already broken loose, so out comes the plug. There's 2 more places I've got to plug in this manifold. Okay, so this should screw into that. some sealant and a wrench to fit it. Got my tripod right in my way. My 3/4 inch wrench is perfect for that. Trying to give you close-ups and I keep missing the target. Couldn't turn that in by hand very much at all, but it's going in easily with the wrench. Don't want to get too much leverage on the wrench. That should do nicely. And then we need to get the fitting that's on the carburetor for the brake booster. I'm guessing the 1/4 inch wrench will fit this one. Actually, it's probably 11/16. Not 11/16. That other one might be, or it's 5/8. There go my return springs. It's probably a good thing I didn't need them. And this doesn't look like it needs any sealant because it's a flared fitting and the inside of that fitting there is flared. So pick up these springs I dropped. They must back over to the throttle body. Okay, that ought to be good enough for now. It may need to be adjusted some, but right now I've got a hose for the brake booster, and it's starting to get to be about time for me to wrap it up for the day. And what I think I want to do is see if I can reach the air cleaner that I had. Stem in. Go locate that air cleaner. Toss it on the engine to keep stuff from getting inside there. So we're looking at the back of the engine, so this is going to be all backwards. But I did find out, okay, I have my old air cleaner housing and a K&N reusable cleanable filter that I'm going to use. And we'll see how this fits on there. So, actually there's a perfect notch see if you can see it. There's a notch right here. Notch right there that fits on a tab at the front of the filter here, and it actually goes on perfectly. Now, there's one thing I'm going to have to do. This little hose here goes to a vacuum control thing for emissions. I hope it works with the sniper. If not, I'll have to just disconnect it and block the heat riser open. It is open right now. It's actually to take heat from the exhaust manifold and put it into the so that's interesting. I hope, and I'll turn it over manually, but I hope that tube doesn't reach far enough into the rocker arm assembly to interfere with anything. Didn't feel like it hit anything. And actually, just for grins, I'll push it down further than it should go, and yeah. It goes down further than it should go without interfering with anything, so it ought to be good. And then there's my air cleaner. Have to see, I thought I dropped a washer when I got that off of the shelf, but I didn't bother to try and retrieve it. Okay, that's way too long a stud. That'll have to be resolved. Or will it? Screwing it further down into the throttle body. No, a little bit too long. Anyway, something will have to be done about that. Maybe a little shorter stud. It's just a 1/4 inch threaded rod. I could probably cut one off about 1 inch shorter than that one, and it probably would work. So I am just going to go see if I can find that washer I dropped, because I think it goes between the nut on that air cleaner and the air cleaner itself, and I'm going to call it a day. Thanks for watching. So actually what I dropped over there was another wing nut for the top of the air cleaner. I don't know why I had two, but one of them will work.